Good morning and welcome to this morning's live, how to reactivate your existing customer base for aerospace companies. Thank you for those coming in. Apologies for the slightly delayed start. Do let us know where you're tuning in from. As you come in, what your business is. Would be great to see who is live with us this morning. Welcome to those of you that will be joining us live and also those of you that will be catching the replay. So for those of you that don't already know me, my name is Katrina Douglas. I am the founder of The Launch Strategist, a company that helps aerospace and aviation companies increase their marketing effectiveness and commercial capability so that they are more scalable, profitable, and resistant to market change. So welcome to today's live. So as I said, today's live is all about how to reactivate your existing customer base. And the purpose of that is, of course, to drive revenue. We know that it was 5 times more cost effective to reactivate your existing clients than it is to go after new clients. And so a lot of times aerospace companies have been around for decades. They have existed for decades. And what that means is that unlike many other business sectors, they have a rich database of clients. Many of those may not be active. So that may be because they have gone out of business. That might be because they've been acquired. That may be because your contacts moved on, for any number of reasons. But a large percentage of your client base that is lying dormant is active and probably would continue to do business with you if they knew that you still existed. They probably just need a reminder. Even if they do know you still exist, they probably just need a reminder of what you can do for them, who you are, and that you are still available to do business with them. So that is what this live is all about. And in this live, the next 20 to 30 minutes ago, I'm going to give you some tips, some strategies on how to drive revenue by reactivating your customer base. For those of you that have joined my lives before, you know I like to keep them interactive. So do any questions that you do have, please feel free to share in the comments and I will get to all your questions at the end. For those of you that are watching the replay, even after this live has ended, post your comments and I'll always be sure to come back to you with responses. So thank you again for those of you that will be joining live or will be catching the replay. Now, when you're thinking about how to reactivate your client base, there are 3 core components that you need to think about. The first is tools and technology. The second is your outreach strategies. And the third is your people and processes. So in this live, I'm going to give you a taste of each of those components and why they are important. So the first thing that you need to be thinking about is in relation to tools and technology. And I've got 3 points here. So the first thing is, where is your existing client list? Where does it actually live? So for some companies, that might be a spreadsheet. For some companies, that might be a CRM. Hopefully, a number of you will have CRM system, so that's customer relationship management system. But I know that a lot of you will be using legacy solution. So whether that is a spreadsheet, whether that is some sort of database tool, if you don't have a consolidated means of being able to identify who your client base is, and I mean, since, you know, for the last however long you've existed, finding a list of clients that you've ever worked with. I mean, if you can't find the entire list, at least for say the last 5-10 years, or, you know, just some length of time. If you don't have a consistent means of finding that out, if you say, for example, you don't have one spreadsheet or you don't have a customer relationship management system, the best bet is going to be your invoicing system. And so you need to identify what tools you are already using that has all the data of your existing client base. What is that? that you have? Where can you actually locate them? Because there's no point, me talking to you about reactivating your client base when actually you don't know where all your existing clients are housed. And that has to do with technology and tools. That has to be to do with legacy systems, how you have done that to date. So that is the first thing that you have to do, because you can't reactivate them if you can't find them. The second thing is, ask yourself, is there a better tool for keeping track of existing clients? Is what you're doing actually working for you? Because sometimes the reason why your clients lie dormant or they're not reactivated is because there is not a centralized system, is because there's not one central repository where you can get all this data from. Perhaps you have a team of business development professionals, they've changed over the years, and actually they held all the contacts. And maybe there isn't a central repository. There will definitely be details and things like your invoicing system, but maybe this is a nice juncture where you think about, how can we manage this more effectively moving forward, so the next time, or as we continue to want to reactivate clients, it gets easier with time. And you don't need to be solving all these conundrums out the gate, but these are the things that you need to be thinking about, because sometimes you may want to reactivate clients, but the technicality and the difficulty in actually doing it, the processes that you already have, are prohibitive. So in the end, the business says, you know what, let's just work with what we got. Let's not even do this exercise. But there is so much revenue that your business loses out on when you don't do an exercise like this. This is one of the things in business that is actually worth doing, because it's gold, and actually it pays for itself. So even though it might be time consuming and costly to do that initial work, it's worth it, because like I said at the beginning, it's 5 times more expensive to go after new clients than it is to work continuously with or get repeat business from existing clients. So it's actually worth the effort, and it's one of the simplest ways to actually drive revenue, and it's one of the quickest ways to drive revenue. So this is something that is definitely worth thinking about, worth investing in, worth taking the time to do in the business. Now, in relation to tools and technology, the final thing is once you have identified these clients that you want to re-engage with, how are you going to do that? What is going to be your primary means of communication? Now, this might already be built into your sales and business development process, but the question is, are you going to call these people? Are you going to send them emails? Are you going to pay them a visit? In relation to actually re-engagement, what communication tools are you going to use? Things like text messaging are really good. A lot of you may have, the mobile numbers of a key contact, text messaging. So a lot of times you might think that calling is the obvious choice. And sometimes, especially in aerospace and aviation, where relationships are built personally, I would say that you're actually right. But actually, it's not going to be one means of contact. I would say have a multi-pronged approach for re-engaging your contact. So yes, it might be a call. Yes, it might be a site visit. But actually, things like email marketing to support your efforts. Do you even have an email marketing system? Beyond Outlook, if you wanted to send, say, an email, a personalized email to a number of prospects or existing clients at once, do you have the tools to do that? So those are the 3 areas that you need to think about under that first kind of component of tools and technology. So where are you housing your clients, your client list currently? Is it effective? 2, is there a more effective way to do that? Do you need to start thinking about using a CRM or using your current CRM more effectively? If you have Excel spreadsheets, that's not great for the long term and can be prohibitive. And the third thing under tools and technology is, in terms of your comms, your communications approach, what tools are you going to use, and are they sufficient? Do you need to think about something like an email broadcaster? And so in terms of things like a CRM, if you don't have one and you are wanting to implement something that is simple and not time consuming just to get out of the gate, so you have a central repository, then our favorites are something called Capsule CRM. And also we like Insightly. And these are CRM systems that are super easy to use, super easy to integrate, very low cost, but do the job. At this stage, you don't need something complicated. And yeah, so those are two CRM solutions that you may think about. All of these platforms have enterprise versions. I'm not a fan of things like Microsoft Dynamics because they are so complicated and you don't need the level of complexity. But if you do want enterprise solutions, then there are some that we could recommend. But when we work with a client and we're just trying to bring some structure and process and begin to implement these types of strategies, we tend to use very simple systems that are easy to integrate, like Insightly and Capsule. If you're looking for an email broadcaster, so that's something that allows you to customize messages and send them to multiple recipients at once without getting your main domain from, say, your Outlook emails blacklisted, then we recommend as a very basic. I mean, it's quite advanced in terms of features, but in terms of just starting out, MailChimp, and it's free. The second one is ConvertKit. So if you want something that is more, a little bit more sophisticated and simpler to use, and then I would recommend ConvertKit. And if you want something that is completely integrated with, say, a website or other communication tools, then we would recommend Kartra. So they offer 3 levels of sophistication, but all of them are good. And if you're just starting and you want to test these things, MailChimp for free is perfectly fine for that. And none of those solutions are very expensive. I say that because in my experience of working with aerospace companies, there doesn't tend to be the appetite to spend huge amounts of money on these things, which is definitely understandable because a lot of relationships are still built personally. So if you do just want to invest, but you don't want to invest at a high level, these are great solutions that do the job very, very well for you. So yes, I would say in terms of technology and tools, don't get bogged down in the tech, because again, this has the potential to be another reason not to do this. So don't get bogged down with the tech. Start with what you have and work with what you want. Start with what you have and work towards what you want. Okay, but even though this technology and tools piece is important, don't let it bog you down and stop you from doing the task. At the very least, you can find the spreadsheet if that's all you have, pick up the phone and have a conversation with these prospects or existing clients. You will be surprised at how far that alone can get you. So the second component is outreach strategy. So you know that you want to contact these people, you've located a list, even if it's not the whole list. What is going to be your outreach strategy? So when you're speaking to these people, what is the hook going to be? What are you going to call them and say? Is it just going to be a courtesy call to say we haven't spoken in a while and we wanted to see how your business is getting on, for example? Are you going to re-engage them with some sort of offer of service in relation to what they bought from you in the past? For example, perhaps years ago, they bought some sort of hardware solution from you. It may be a maintenance offer, for example. So you're going to re-engage them with an offer. Are you going to use the fact that your business has changed or there's additional services that you offer as re-engagement? So you first have to think about, what is the hook? What is the hook that could make these people want to talk to us about potentially doing business with us again? And because you haven't spoken to them in a while, maybe it is just a courtesy call. Again, it doesn't have to be sophisticated. It doesn't have to be a long, complex script. It doesn't require overthinking. But you do need to know, when you pick up the phone to these people, what are you actually going to say and what is going to be of interest to them first and foremost? What is going to make them even want to talk to you again? Because they've obviously been getting on fine since your last interaction. So what? Well, maybe or maybe not, but they haven't had enough of an issue to call you proactively. So when you call them, there has to be something of relevance that you want to say to them. So it's important to think about that. Again, what we said in the last component under tools and technology was, what is your approach going to be? Are you going to say, can we come and see you? Are you wanting to have a call? To maybe one thing that we do here at the Launch Strategist, we do mini audit calls. We find that works quite well for prospects. So say, you know what you may or may not be ready to invest in marketing at the moment, but what we're doing is we're doing complimentary audits. At the moment in November, and actually halfway through December, we're actually offering audits. So sit on a half an hour call. We'll have a discussion about where you are, what your main issues are right now, how we can support you, and give you kind of some recommendations at the end of that. If you want to work with us, great. If you don't, that's absolutely fine, but you've lost nothing and you're starting to build rapport and re-engage again. So really think about, what is that going to be? Because at the end of every call or every approach, there needs to be a call to action. Where is it that you want to go with that? And that doesn't necessarily mean a sell out of the gate. It could just be a meeting that you just want to meet up for coffee or for lunch and see where the business is. We all like that extra level of service, to know that people actually cared enough to send us an email. People actually care enough to actually pick up the phone when we've spent money with them. So it doesn't have to be complicated, but it does have to be clear. It does not have to be complicated, but your approach has to be clear. And then the third thing is, how are you going to maximize the opportunity? So, of course, we're talking about reactivating dormant clients. And so at some point, you want them to be them to be a client again. But that's not the only thing you can get out of re-engaging. And that's kind of the ultimate goal. But in the world of marketing, we call things, we have macro conversions, which are the main conversions. So that might be a sale. But then you have a series of micro conversions that lead up to that. So that, in this case, that might be a micro conversion, might be a meeting. But other micro conversions might be, you simply schedule the next time to touch base. So you now have a date in the diary where you're going to contact them again. Another micro conversion might be, it might not be the right time for them, but do you know other companies similar to you that would benefit from these services? And could you potentially, reach out to them? But some means of referral. So referral could be a micro conversion. You may not be ready to work with us now, but would you mind giving us a testimonial or case study from the time you worked with us in the past? And I know within aviation and aerospace, sometimes it's quite, confidentiality is very important. Clients don't often want to disclose who they are. But when you have a case study, you don't necessarily have to use the client name. All you're trying to demonstrate was the problem, the solution, the problem they were having, the solution you provided, and what the outcomes were. So when you're re-engaging these clients, or these past clients that are no longer working with you, it's not just to be tunnel visioned about closing the scale. And these are simple things that are part of the business development process, but sometimes can be forgotten. It's okay. Can I get a referral from this conversation? It's, could we get a date in the diary for a meeting? It's all these things that when you're re-engaging them, even though it might not be an immediate sale, they're still of value, and they still keep you in close contact and communication with your existing client base. And that's what it's all about, staying in close enough contact so that when they do have a need, you are front of mind. Your business is front of mind. And then the third component is processes and people. So who is going to be responsible for this? Client reactivation should not be a one-off event. Client reactivation should be a ongoing part of your business development and sales process. It should be embedded in the fabric of your business and of your business development process. So who is going to be responsible in the business for making sure that clients are continuously contacted, continuously stayed in contact with? In a lot of businesses, it is a combination of marketing and sales. So for example, when the lead is hot, sales will take over from that. If it's an initial like re-engagement call, they may schedule every 6 months, 6 to 12 months or so. They just give the client a call. But in between that, marketing is pushing out communications to the existing client base. So whether it's a call from the salesperson or whether it's an engagement email from the marketing team, your business is always front of mind. If, as is the case in many aerospace companies, you just have a business development person, then the business development director, I guess, needs to take ownership of making sure the team is trained, making sure that the team are briefed that this needs to happen. And if it is, say, just a very small business development team, this is where a CRM system becomes particularly important, because instead of you having to remember this, you're setting up reminders in your CRM. You're setting up automatic emails in your CRM that are personalized and relevant. But regardless of whether it's a combination of sales and marketing, or a team of business development people, or just one business development person, it needs to be clear who has ownership of this and what is the process for doing this. So number 2 is, how are you going to implement this process? And again, I like to keep things super simple. For me, at a very basic level, it's literally just a series of reminders. Hopefully you have a CRM, but if you don't, just in the calendar. Okay, remember to contact X amount of people, legacy clients, in the monthly sales meeting, report on how many legacy clients that you have engaged with or contacted, and what is the traction and what the traction is. Has it been effective? Has it not? Which leads me on to the third point. How are you going to monitor success? Because the point of doing this is not for the sake of activity. It's not for the sake of saying, we contacted 50 legacy clients this month. Great. But how effective is your process? Does it need tweaking? Do we need to make changes? Is our outreach message effective? Is it actually working? So when it comes to process and people, those are the 3 components. Who is going to be responsible for this task and process? How are you going to implement the process? And how are you going to monitor success? So let's just go through those 3 components very quickly again, in terms of how to reactivate your customer base so that you can drive revenue more quickly and often most of the time, in fact, pretty much all of the time, more cost effectively, and also drive increased revenue. So how are you going to do that? And so just to recap, the 3 components that you need to have when you're doing that are, number 1, tools and technology. So under tools and technology, we said you have to ask, where is the client list located currently? Is there a better tool for managing your client list? And number 3, what communication tools are you going to use to do that? The second component is outreach strategy. So that is, what is the hook for re-engagement? What is your approach going to be? And how are you going to maximize the opportunity? And number 3, the third component is process and people. And so you need to be thinking about, who is going to be responsible for this task and process? How are you going to implement the process? And how are you going to monitor success? Now, I know that these things are much easier said than done. You can have the best will in the world and you can say, you know what, we agree, we need to reactivate the client base. There's oftentimes, some of you literally have tens, sometimes even hundreds of clients that you've worked with over the years, and you're only working with a relative small percentage of that. So it doesn't take a lot to be able to see how important this work is. But being able to see how important a job is and actually having the time and capacity to do it are 2 different stories, which is where we come in. If you're listening to this and saying, you know what, I agree with what you're saying, we absolutely need to do it, but we just don't have the capacity to do it, that's where we come in. This is the type of work that we do at the Launch Strategist. When your in-house team does not have the capacity, you don't want to hire an agency, you don't necessarily want to recruit at the moment, but you need someone to come in on a project basis and fix stuff like this that are related to sales and marketing. That is what we do. That is our specialism at the Launch Strategist, to do work like this. that increases revenue without you having to figure out how to do it on your own. We provide that support and we provide that service. If that resonates with you, direct message us, direct message me, and many of you will be connected with me. For those that you are not connected with me, I'm Katrina Douglas on LinkedIn quite regularly, pretty much every day, in fact. So do direct message me on LinkedIn if you say, you know what, I think this is something we need help with, and we can schedule a call in the diary. But if it's something that needs to be done, don't delay. You could be closing business before the end of the year. You know, these clients have worked with you before. They are actually low hanging fruit, and it is an absolute shame not to be engaging with them. And you'll be surprised at how many of them will be like, yes, there's a requirement that you can potentially help us with. So don't delay. And like I said, if you can do it on your own, then great, go ahead and do that. Follow those tips that we've provided. Watch the replay. It will be on our YouTube channel and also on LinkedIn. So watch the replay. But if you're thinking to yourself, it sounds great, but we don't have capacity, don't hesitate. Reach out to me. And my team and I are more than happy to help. And we probably have the capacity that you don't. So yes, don't hesitate to reach out to us. If you want to find out more about what we do and how we do it, do go to thelaunchstrategist.com as well. But thank you for joining this morning, those of you that have joined live and those of you that will be catching the replay. It's always an honor to do these lives, and I will be back with you probably in the next couple of weeks with another live. But before I go, just do any of you have any questions? Do you have any questions that I can answer for you live this morning? Do you have any questions live this morning? Feel free to drop them in the comment box and I will absolutely get back to you. So I'm just going to look on LinkedIn and wait a couple of minutes to see if any questions come in. Let's see if any questions are coming in. Let's look. Okay, I don't see any questions. I don't see any questions, but even if you think of some after the lives, like I said, I always come back and look at comments. So drop a comment or direct message me. I'll be more than happy to help. Thank you very much, those of you that have joined live this morning, and those of you that will catch the replay. If you have any questions or want to know how we can help you, then don't hesitate to get in touch. Have a wonderful rest of the week, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye-bye.